Hey, it's a sports guy, Pat Walsh, for KFBK.com. Just look for my section in the middle of the page, and I felt compelled today to do a little bit of a rant. Haven't done one in a while, but there's been all this talk about the integrity in the NFL, and particularly in light of the final play on Monday Night Football when the Seahawks won that game, beat the Green Bay Packers. Shouldn't have won it because really Golden Tate, let's face it, should have been called for pass interference, and it was an interception by M.D. Jennings of the Packers. So, I feel for these replacement officials. I get it. These guys, can you believe it? That first of all, starting with that game, one of these officials was from Seattle. The guy who worked the Arizona-Seattle game was from Seattle, and you may remember there was a dispute in that game as well. A field judge in the Cardinals-Seahawks game, where Seattle was awarded an extra. I have to refer to my notes. Was awarded an extra timeout. He had worked as the Seattle practices over the past 3 years. All right, so obviously this is problematic because individual teams, they pay these officials to work these practices. So you're talking about a former employee, independent contractor, a guy who obviously he wants to keep working their practice, so he's paid by the team. Now, he's a former Pac-12 conference official, Jeff Sidoris, who worked last week's Seattle Seahawks Arizona Cardinals game as a field judge. He has officiated Seahawks regular season practices, as I mentioned, for the last 3 years. So he receives paychecks from the team. And regular NFL officials, they're under strict guidelines to work only training camp practices, with the NFL paying them for those to avoid the bias in football, avoid any biases. So those are the only 2 occasions that the regular officials are allowed to be at a team facilities outside of game day. So that's obviously a big problem, especially when you're talking about the integrity of the game. One of America's favorite sports is the NFL, the National Football League. And just another example while we're all concerned if we're fans, and another example why the game is losing its luster with these replacement officials. I witnessed it myself. I watched the Rams games a couple of weeks ago. The Rams were playing the Detroit Lions. Steven Jackson scored a touchdown. It was clearly a touchdown. They didn't call it a touchdown. When Steven Jackson got up and spiked the ball, they called a 15-yard penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct. So not only did he get the touchdown, but he got a 15-yard penalty, that's the first time I'd ever seen that. So fans are still going to watch. Obviously, you're going to watch your team, but how about the integrity of the game? The integrity of the game is losing its luster, and you need to put the luster back into the league before it's too late. Because in the long run, this isn't the WWE where you just expect scripted things to happen. And I'm not saying it's fixed. I'm just saying this isn't the WWE. So the integrity of the game needs to be intact. And speaking of the integrity of the game, hope you don't mind me saying this. You probably will, Seahawks fans. But what's with the uniforms? Come on now. This grayish blue thing with the lime green, man, you got to get rid of that. In my team even, I've always thought the Rams had one of the greatest uniforms in all sports, but the all blue or the all red with the Cardinals, these uniforms, they got to be out of the game, man. Let's go old school. And again, that I think will help restore some luster back into the NFL. That's my rant. Check it out at KFBK.com. Just look for my segment in the middle of the page, KFBK.com.